Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome to the show, where we interview the nation's leading real estate entrepreneurs and service providers. I've got a wonderful guest who I've had the privilege of sharing some conversation here before we hit record. James Murphy is joining us today. He is a long-term financial planning advisor, has a background in all of that world, and we're super excited to get into what he's excited about going on. And just remember, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted, to allow them to live the lives they've always dreamed of. Super excited to get into it and how what James is doing now could potentially be a beneficial tool in your tool belt as you are building your real estate empire. So with that being said, James, welcome to the show.
It's an honor. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate you having me on.
I'm super excited for our conversation today because I know some of the points we'll talk about are going to be just incredibly valuable for the listeners of our show, people that are investing in real estate, and then possibly some people even for their own personal lives, and how they can leverage some of the expertise that you've picked up over the years with what you're currently doing. So before we kind of get into today's topic, specifically like our first point of like how mortgages are structured today, could you go ahead and just give us a little bit of a background on you, how you got to where you're at, what you were doing, and then what you found through your own personal story, and how you're helping people now through that?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I've been in financial planning for 23 years, and the full gamut from the insurance side all the way to all the investments and money management. And when people would come into the office, they oftentimes ask, I've got a pile of money, should I pay off my house or should I invest it? And I would say, 99% of advisors out there are going to say invest. And partially because they just don't really know how to structure the debt very well. We've never been trained in that as a financial advisor. We're not mortgage officers, and mortgage officers might not know either the best way to do it. We'll put a pin in that. But although they're my friends, it's a frustration because people assume when they buy a mortgage that they're just going to have it their whole life, and most people do. And so when I learned this, I heard about it in 2008, and it wasn't a very good listener. And so the next day, I pretty much forgot that the guy told me about it. In 2020, I was 18 years into my practice. I called the bank to see if we could drop our PMI. Before we were done, I asked the gal, by the way, how much are we paying towards our principal? For being a numbers guy, I should have known. We had been in the house for 6 years, and less than $200 was going towards our principal. I was, to say it nicely, I was shocked. And that day, out of the blue, I believe God brought somebody across my path who asked me, James, did you know people are paying their homes off in 5 to 7 years, saving, and kind of gave me the average savings. And so we ran our numbers, and just doing the same thing we were doing, we could go from 24 years left down to 4 years and 2 months We ended up doing it in less than half that time, buying an investment property.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Airbnb'd it. It wasn't really for us. So we sold it for a profit. But then I'm like, man, this thing works so efficiently, just using the same money we already were running through our, we'd have to. So I started sharing with friends just over coffee. And like 8 out of 10 people could do this. So here I am. I'm not maybe lightning quick, but I'm pretty quick. Realizing that all these years I'm beating my head against a brick wall, telling people they should max out their retirement, they need to fund their Roth, you need disability, long-term care insurance, life insurance, and all of those things. Of course, nobody disagreed with the concept of having, but most families couldn't really like afford to do everything that they felt like they should do, or like the advisor recommended. But this one thing, like if they could take care of their largest expense, their mortgage, their car loans, their student loans, their credit cards, and get that wiped out in single digit years, man, I just can't even tell you like the load that takes off of people. And then they can get about whatever their financial goals were. That was kind of a long answer there, but I mean, I've had people, they want to open up a food truck, they want to travel, they want to buy investment properties, they want to invest in other financial vehicles. They want to bring a wife home from work so she can be with the kids. There's just so many applications. People have gone back to school because now like life's not such a strain, and then they've built a new career that was more aligned with their callings. So how did I get here? That's kind of the long story. Is just it came and found me, and it's been wildly successful for the people who have engaged.
Love that. So tell me a little bit more about that moment and that feeling that you had when you were going in there to try and lower your PMI, or what that was like when you found out I'm only paying $200 towards the principal of my house, and this is not good. Like, what was that feeling like? And then what did you learn in that process post shock of maybe some things people don't realize about how their mortgages are structured even?
Well, I was shocked. I felt a little dumb, like kind of taken advantage of. I always try to be really honest with people, like it's not your fault, right? So even though I felt that way, I never want somebody to feel that way. Because unless you walk in with a pile of cash, the banks pretty much force you to do an amortized loan. And it's usually over 30 years, right? And so what did I learn? Well, I guess the first thing I learned is that all of these entities, and again, I'm not anti these companies, but the bank, the insurance company holding the PMI, the insurance company running the homeowners, whoever's managing the escrow for your taxes and your insurance, none of these are designed to make you wealthy. I know you know that, Steve, and all of the listeners ostensibly know that in their heart, that they're not designed to make you wealthy. But yet we just don't know that there's maybe a different way. So as we start to dig into it and realize, okay, all of those factors, your property tax, your homeowner's insurance, hopefully we can get rid of PMI, your principal and interest, that all of these things can be structured differently to allow your money to work harder for you so that you can get about the things that are important to you. And so as far as like, did you want to know how they're structured, like how we're looking at that?
Yeah, sure. Like, what was that process like when you found that out and then looked into it deeper to then find this, I don't, maybe existential reality that you were in that you didn't
Yeah.
even know about? Like, what, because ultimately other people are finding that out the hard way too, or never finding it.
I know, right?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
So one of my first light bulb moments is I love the etymology of words, the origin of where something came from. And so I see you smiling, you probably know this. So the word mortgage, M-O-R-T, basically comes from French, but it's also rooted in Latin.
The Death
And
Note.
what's that?
The Death Note.
The death note. It's the same word we get mortuary, mortician, postmortem,
Yeah.
remorse, morbidity, mortality, and the schedule to pay your death note is called an amortization. And so you just kind of get an idea that maybe they never planned on us getting out of these things at all.
Mm. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And with an amortized loan, can you kind of define that even further? I know we kind of talked a little bit about like the origin, the etymology, right?
Yeah.
Define that a little bit more, like in a digestible way, that somebody that's like, okay, you're throwing big words around. Death
Oh,
note, what does that mean? Am I supposed to die before it's paid off? Like, what is that? Help us
right.
understand that a little bit, James.
So prior to the Great Depression, all the decades and decades prior, banks essentially use simple interest. And simple interest is the fairest way for a lender and a borrower to transact money. It basically just says, to be as simple as possible, that whatever you owe today times the annual percentage rate divided by we'll say the days of the year to keep it simple in conversation. But that's all you owe today. And so when people use simple interest, they magically paid off their houses in single digit years. Great Depression rolls around. 40 to 50% of homes were being foreclosed on. You saw the pictures. People were living in tents. Whole cities were like, villages were set up like with tents. Government needed to step in. Was not without help from some very influential families, Rockefellers being the most recognizable name, in conjunction with the Federal Reserve. And they structured something that on the surface is very philanthropic. They saved the day. They turned these 7-year mortgages into 30-year mortgages. People could move back into their homes. I mean, yay! I'm glad that they can move back into their homes. But sometimes when things have a very, philanthropic face to them, there's something going on behind the scenes, and that was turning their simple interest into compounded interest. And in reality, it's the only way. It's the only way you can stretch a 7-year out to 30 years is by amortizing. So to your answer, amortize means reverse compounded. So if somebody thinks about investing, and this is not an investment strategy, this is not an insurance strategy. I have to say that for my licenses. But when they think about investing, if they had a simple bond with like a 5% interest rate, we'll call it coupon, every year they're just going to get 5,000 on the 100,000 on the original amount. That's simple interest. Everybody knows that. Compounded is that it just you get interest on interest on interest, and exponentially you get this curve, right? But people don't think that borrowing is the other side of trade of investing. So when you flip that chart around, if you use simple interest, you're paying the least amount because you only are paying on what you actually owe. But when you are in compounded, like mortgages and car notes are, and other things, you're paying interest on interest. And worse yet, it's spread out over, for most people, 30 years to the end that last 360th payment, you have paid on that 360 times. For 30 years, you've paid on the same money over and over and over. And so when people look at their amortization, some people visit with me and they've never even looked at it, which is okay, no shame. But they're like, no wonder I never get ahead, because 80% of my payment is going to interest. And we're not even talking about taxes and insurance, but just of the principal and interest payment. Like most people are 60, 70, 80%. And we can talk about nerdy numbers more if you want. And that's going to the bank. wow, like no wonder it takes so long. And what if, just what
if you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
they could have the majority of that payment going towards their principal. And what if they could pay it off in under 10 years and then whatever to do? Like it's life changing. Like from a financial standpoint, it's unbelievable.
Well, and so like I'll give you a perfect example of this, and then we'll kind of segue into another talking point that we had previously discussed about just how important personal knowledge is, and reading the fine print, even as a kind of a in tandem talking point to that. But like for example, I had a stint in the car business, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
my last serious job in that, I was a finance manager at a dealership, which was not a buy here, pay here. They did traditional financing, but their focus was highline used vehicles, highline, high mileage used vehicles. So, our average car was a $20,000 BMW with, 110,000 miles on it, right? Which I don't know who would buy that in the first place, but a bunch of people did. And I found it fascinating because when I would be turning a deal sheet over to somebody with all of the details of it on there, they'd be signing up, and the only thing they'd look at was how much money did I have to put down, and what's my monthly payment to get the thing that I want, not factoring anything else into it of, is it a good vehicle? Is it something that I'm going to have major repairs on? Nothing. And right there in front of their faces, with a 22% interest rate on this car, they were then seeing a number that they would just always read over, and not a single person would see that that $20,000 they were purchasing today was going to cost them $44,000 over the extent of a
Come
7-year
on.
loan. And it's almost like I almost couldn't sleep at night, because I'm like, not a single person the entire time I was there, hundreds of cars sold, not a single person ever looked at that number of, oh, I'm going to pay 42 grand for this car. So, and maybe they didn't know, maybe they didn't do the math in their head that their $450 car payment times, 7 years, right? Came out to, but how important is it for people to personally educate themselves outside of just being able to meet with a financial advisor or
Uh,
things along those lines? How important is that? What do you see that as helping people to save themselves?
Man, it's so important. I mean, there is obviously there's a place where we do need to trust people because we can't DIY every single
Sure.
thing in life. Like, we do need attorneys or legal services to draft our legal documents. Unless you're good at the market, financial advisors are good. Unless you have a pile of cash, you need a mortgage officer. So, like, these people aren't bad,
Sure.
but they can't cover everything. Last time you signed for a house, how thick was that piece of paper? Like
It's a
even the
book.
consumer can't read everything, right? Like you'd be there literally all day long, but they do send it to you in advance now, so
Hmm,
you should read through it.
sure.
At least throw it into AI and have AI summarize it if you get a big packet like that and can't read it and don't understand it seriously. So,
Right.
but to your point, well, so on the truth in lending statement, there's this little section, and it is exactly what you just described with the cars, but it's with the houses. I'm always going to go back to talking about mortgages, right?
Sure.
And it total interest payment, and it shows somebody that over the course, I've got the stats here. So if somebody had a 6%, they would end up paying 216% for that house. So a $500,000 home is over $1 million, and maybe it appreciated to that, but maybe not. But the funny thing about that, and is in a twisted way, is they abbreviate total interest payment
Mm,
to tip. And people balk, when tipping your waitress went from 15 to 20, and now it's customary to do 25 or 30. No, I'm not going to leave 25, percent. Well, you're given 100%. You're given 150% to your bank for the use of that money. But we don't read the fine print. We don't understand it. And that's like, there's no shame in that. Find somebody who does understand it.
Love that. That's awesome. And so with reading the fine print, what are some things people can do to personally educate them? Because even when they get the fine print to read it, right? Even when they get it, like you mentioned, summarizing in, ChatGPT, for example, or something along those lines. But I think a big piece of it is, and even me, I'm a pretty smart guy. I've got a financial license to an extent. And even some of the times when I'd be in the insurance space looking at financial docs, even with the knowledge of going and learning, I'd still be reading it like it was Chinese, So, do you think most people don't because it's just hard, or it's because there's a lack of resources for them to actually be able to personally educate themselves on what they're getting themselves into?
Oh, man, I almost want to say it's not for a lack of resources. I would have said that 10 years ago.
Sure.
Information is too free now. It's at our fingertips. And this is the guy who grew up without cell phones.
Yeah.
It's so easy now. You can take a picture of it and say, what does this mean? Like, again, chat. But take somebody with you, like a parent or, a trusted advisor that you have a history with that person, or even ask the person you're in front of, because I don't just naturally, I'm not skeptical of people naturally. Like, I believe that most people are in their careers to do what is right. And so ask them, what does this mean? And then ask them some more questions, because they just may not have time. Or honestly, like I've learned through the years that people sometimes don't want to know. And so they tell us what you want to know, right? We want to explain that to you. Hopefully everybody in a sales role has a heart of a teacher, hopefully.
Sure.
And they're willing to explain that to you. And if it's not sufficient, don't sign the frickin' paper. It's not, if you don't understand what you're signing, don't sign it.
Yeah, you bet. Love that. Well, James, I'm super, super appreciative and grateful that you were able to be here and share some of this knowledge. Is there anything else that you would want people to know about this topic? And then where can people connect with you for more?
Absolutely. I would say the best information that I could give, or advice, is just slow down. If you have to take a day off of work, if you're going to make an important decision, do it. I mean, people plan more for vacations than they do their own retirement.
For sure.
So just slow down. We try to go slow with people when we're talking with people. Like, we're cramming a lot into this podcast, but we want to make sure everybody understands what they're in and what their options are. Our website is firemymortgage.com. Don't forget the T in the middle of mortgage is silent. We are also Fire My Mortgage on every social media platform. And we'd love to connect with you.
Awesome. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's show, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again, James, for being here.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.